What film do I think is going to take home the prestigious award that is Best Picture at the 2026 Academy Awards? There's a lot of great picks here, some surprising picks, some really surprising picks, but ultimately they're all good movies and some amazing movies, some masterpieces. But what film do I think is going to win Best Picture? Let's start ranking. But before we get into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on push notifications to keep up to date on every single one of my videos. But now let's get to ranking. In last, and I won't say dead last because it's not like it's a horrible pick. I mean, it's not a great pick either, but F1, yeah. A movie about trying to get first place comes in last place as far as what film I think is going to win Best Picture. And F1 is just one of those movies where it's just very confusing as to why it got the nomination. Now, we've seen movies like this getting nominated for Best Picture, like, I mean, the cousin to this movie, Top Gun Maverick, you know, it's directed by the same person and it pretty much has the same exact story. But F1 being nominated, you know, over Sorry Baby is super confusing to me. And I mean, I know it made a lot of money, and an F1 sequel actually just got announced. It's unclear as to if Brad Pitt's going to be reprising his role. But F1 being nominated for Best Picture makes no sense yet. All the sense at the exact same time. And you know, I'm talking bad about it. I don't think that this is a bad movie at all. I actually genuinely think that this is a good movie, and I think that it's a fun movie. I think if there was one movie that, you know, kind of deserved this spot more, it would have been Top Gun Maverick, that deserving it, because I think the story was just a lot better. But it's a fun movie, you know, it's a fun movie. It's almost like if Gran Turismo would have gotten nominated for Best Picture, or if Brad Pitt would have been nominated for Best Actor for his role in this movie. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, you know, you have the fifth man. There's a joke that they make in BoJack Horseman about there being like a fifth man in the Best Actor category. Like you have the 4 nominations that, you know, have a chance, and then you need the fifth, you know, you need the 5th nomination, so we're just going to nominate you. Yeah, this is like the 10th man for Best Picture, and that's the one they picked, I guess. Again, not a bad movie, but one that I would hate to see win Best Picture. Apple, I love you. I love your movies. I love your TV shows. It's cool that this movie got nominated for Best Picture, but oh man, there were so many other candidates that deserved that nomination. Next, I have The Secret Agent. Now, this one's definitely a huge step up as far as, you know, qualifying for Best Picture. But, you know, The Secret Agent, it's a long movie, and it can be slow at parts, but I think it's a really interesting take on the, you know, detective or secret agent kind of story. I know that's the title of the movie, but, you know, instead of it being a story focusing so hard on the, you know, aspects of what makes an agent and what they have to go through, it really tackles the, you know, slower parts to that life and how you really gotta lay low and really are protecting yourself from harm. And I think that that's very interesting. Now, the movie is not necessarily my speed as far as a movie that I would, you know, be like, yeah, let's go watch that. But I'm glad that I did, because I think that it is a good movie and I did enjoy it. I think there's some great acting here. And I think that overall, the story is super interesting. There's a lot of good, compelling stuff here. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see it win Best Picture. I think it definitely has a better chance of winning Best International Feature, but I think that that's definitely going to be going to Sentimental Value, which we'll get to later as far as where I think that it's going to rank in the Best Picture nominees. But yeah, Secret Agent, not bad. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Next, I have Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia, which is a good movie. Yorgos Lanthimos is hit or miss for me. He makes very intriguing and compelling films, but sometimes they're just so confusing. And to me, I feel like some of them can be a little bit pretentious as far as the story almost on purpose being super confusing. And I think that can, 1, be really good and intriguing, and 2, can just be really frustrating. And I think Bugonia fits in between the middle of that. There's some confusing aspects to this that I'm just like, okay, this could have been done in a different way, but I can also respect the confusion and the writing. And I think that there's really good acting here. I think there's a really good story, but the ending does fall into that category of just being a little too weird for my taste. And not even weird. I think weird is the wrong terminology. I think more a little bit just too quick. Like what happened in the last like 10 minutes of this film was just boom, like, whoa there. Like, what? I think it was just a little bit too quick for me, for my liking. I love Guillermo del Toro. I think Guillermo del Toro makes amazing movies. He makes incredible monster stories, and his vision and listening to him talk about filmmaking is just such an amazing thing to experience, because you can truly see how much he loves filmmaking and how much he loves creating stories or adapting stories. And it's really cool to see. I mean, if you've seen this dude's mansion, you know that he's not normal. So listening to him talk about films is always amazing. And Frankenstein is fabulous. I love Frankenstein so much, but it's almost like a shoo-in for Guillermo del Toro to be nominated for Best Picture when he makes a film. Like, whenever he makes a film, it's gonna be nominated for Best Picture. It's kind of like a given, unless it's like just so awfully bad, which he's never made an awfully bad film. But it's almost like a given that he's gonna get nominated for Best Picture. And Frankenstein won't win Best Picture, but I think that as far as it being deserving, I think it's more deserving than the last picks that I talked about. Still amazing, still great. Guillermo del Toro is definitely one of the best directors that's, still active and making films. And seeing Frankenstein being nominated is really cool, not surprising, but won't win. Great movie, but let's move on. I loved Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme is one of my favorite films of last year, and it's really awesome seeing that it got nominated for Best Picture, because that was something that I was not expecting. I thought that this was going to go under so many people's radars, but fortunately, a lot of people have loved the movie. A lot of people had hated the movie, but I think it's really cool that the Academy recognized how good this movie is and how great Josh Safdie is as a filmmaker, because not only did this get nominated for Best Picture, but it was also nominated for 8 other Academy Awards, which is so cool. And I don't think that it's going to win Best Picture. And I have it like right dead center in the middle, because I think it would be cool to see this win Best Picture, but at the same time, I don't think it's like, it's harsh to say not worthy, but I don't mean it in like, this movie's not worthy of Best Picture. But I just think like the next picks that I have are just like more deserving, if that makes sense. Just like, as far as, its messages and what it has to tell, I think that they definitely have more of a chance and more worthiness of winning Best Picture. But Marty Supreme is spectacular. Timothée Chalamet is probably going to win Best Actor. It's going to be between him or Leonardo DiCaprio, and Leonardo DiCaprio already got his Oscar, so it'll probably be Timothée Chalamet, because just like Paul Thomas Anderson not ever winning an Oscar, it's about time that Timothée Chalamet won his Oscar, and we'll get to Paul Thomas Anderson I think in the next couple picks. Sentimental Value, a fabulous movie, an incredible movie, and one that I think definitely deserves the honor of winning the Academy Award. Now, I think that this definitely has a chance. I don't think it's going to win, just because I feel like this movie wasn't talked about as much as as much as it could have been. And one of my closer picks to what I think should win Best Picture wasn't really talked a whole lot too, but Sentimental Value, it just didn't have that mark on a lot of people's minds. It was definitely considered to be one of the best films of last year, but it being recognized at that highest stature, I don't think it has that big of a chance of actually taking home the award. Like I said near the beginning of the video, I think that it will win Best International Feature, but as far as Best Picture, there just wasn't a lot backing it to win Best Picture. Still a fabulous movie, an amazing movie, and seeing it win Best Picture would be incredible, so we never know. This is just my opinion. But next, I have One Battle After Another, which a lot of people are probably going to be confused as to like, why isn't this in the #1 spot? This is definitely going to win Best Picture. Yeah, you're right. This is probably going to win Best Picture, and like I mentioned before about Timothée Chalamet finally winning his Oscar, this is probably going to be the moment that Paul Thomas Anderson's finally going to win his Oscar, because after receiving, I'm pretty sure, like 14 nominations, not for directing, but 14 nominations in total, he hasn't won any. And he made There Will Be Blood, which that year No Country for Old Men won, which I totally am on board with. I love No Country for Old Men, but Paul Thomas Anderson is definitely in the vicinity of winning an Oscar finally, and it's definitely worthy. I mean, this film is definitely worthy of Best Picture. I think the next 3 picks are more worthy to me personally. But One Battle After Another is a great movie. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think it's definitely a film that's totally Paul Thomas Anderson. And I believe that it will win Best Picture. I think that it's just had the most talk behind it. But with my next couple picks, not my very next pick, but I think I think there are 3 films this year that are going to be fighting neck and neck to what's going to win what, because there are 3 fantastic films in the Best Picture category this year, and it's going to be hard seeing 2 of them losing out to the last, but also amazing to see whatever does win Best Picture. One Battle After Another is a great film. I think that this is going to be more of a career award for Paul Thomas Anderson. As much as this movie does deserve it, I think that he's going to get that leverage because, you know, being in the industry that long, adding that much to the film industry, it's a lot of stuff. So it'll probably go to Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. But anyways, let's stop and go on to the next couple picks. I love Train Dreams so much. I made a video talking about it. We talked about it on my podcast, Sips of Cinema, so definitely make sure to go check that out. But on my TikTok, I made a video talking about how if this movie was made 60 years ago, it would win Best Picture. 100%, this movie would win Best Picture. Just, it's so calming. It's so peaceful. It's a devastating movie, but it's not sad. It doesn't focus on the sad parts. It kind of just moves through time, and we are on a journey with this man, you know, experiencing life in its very harsh, confusing, sad, scary, haunting, horrifying ways. And it's just one of those movies that you would see win Best Picture, or it's one of those movies where 40 years from now, we would look back and just be like, yeah, that movie, like, you're just now discovering it for the first time, but you're like, this movie seems like it would have won Best Picture. Then you looked up what won Best Picture that year, and it would be Train Dreams. Unfortunately, that's not going to be that's not going to be this year. It won't win Best Picture. And I feel like, you know, with streaming services, and as much as I love my streaming services, I love Netflix, I love my Netflix family, but, you know, having these movies locked behind streaming services doors, I believe this movie did get a little bit of a run in theaters. It was only like 2 weeks and barely any showings, especially near me. But it deserves to be in theaters longer, and that gives reason for people to talk about it. People aren't going to be like talking about, oh, did you see that, you know, the film on Netflix, unless it's like this like high action packed $200 million budget movie. But Train Dreams is not that. You know, it's a lower budget film, and it's an incredibly moving story that deserves the honor of winning Best Picture, in my opinion. I did have it in my number 1 spot as to what I think should win Best Picture. I think that Train Dreams is still up there, but my next 2 picks just make a lot more sense to me as to them winning Best Picture. So let's move on to the final 2 picks. Hamnet, absolutely devastating, an absolutely heartbreaking story that the Academy loves. The Academy loves these kind of movies. And that's why I think that it definitely has a really good chance of winning Best Picture, as well as it also being produced by Steven Spielberg. So it has a lot backing this movie as far as how this movie's getting, you know, promoted, and, you know, because they promote these movies to the Academy. They don't just get nominated on a win. It takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of, you know, really pushing these movies to win Best Picture. It's not always about what the best movie is. It's really just about how much money is being put into which movie's going to win. But that doesn't mean, and I'm not saying that because, you know, the only reason why Hamnet might win Best Picture is because a lot of money is being put. No. This movie's fabulous. This movie's amazing. It would be incredible for this movie to win Best Picture, in my opinion. I think it's just one of the more compelling, deep, and rich stories that we've received in, you know, the modern age of cinema. I think that it's just such an incredibly powerful, moving story about grief, and, you know, the ways that we go about gravitating more of like figuring out and coming to the, you know, feelings of how we can move on from stuff. And I know I just kind of went on a ramble there. I didn't want to stop talking, but Hamnet's fabulous. Hamnet is a gorgeous film. Chloe Zhao is one of those directors that hasn't directed much, but she, you know, she's won Best Director and Best Picture previously for Nomadland, which a lot of people consider just to be a bore, but I love that movie. I think it's very good. And Chloe Zhao, she is a part of these movies. She is a really good example to finding the right director or knowing the right director to direct this project or to direct whatever project. And Hamnet is an insanely good pick for Best Picture. And as much as I want to see this next pick, which you already know if you can narrow it down, but as much as I want to see this next film win Best Picture, I think Hamnet has a really good chance of winning Best Picture, and I would not complain at all. But the film that I think deserves the honor of winning Best Picture the most is Sinners. I think Sinners is just so incredible. On a rewatch, holy crap, there is just so much greatness in this movie. There is just so much to love, appreciate, and to admire about this film. Ryan Coogler has proved himself time and time again that he is able to construct stories that are intriguing, nuanced, and incredibly powerful in how it chooses to tell its story. And Sinners, you know, it broke the record, being nominated for 16 Oscars. And I've made the argument before that Sinners is going to be one of those movies at the Oscars where it's nominated for so many Oscars, but it's probably only going to win a couple, or it's either going to win a couple or win the majority of their nominations. And as much as I still believe that to be true, because I think that Sinners, as much as it is a fantastic film and one of the best films from last year, it still is one of those movies that I think that it just won't get, like, past the nominations that it got, it won't get the credit that it so rightfully deserves. And I want to be proven wrong. Prove me wrong. Seeing this movie win 10 plus Oscars would be so incredible to see. And like I said, I am not saying that in a hateful manner or in a pessimistic manner. It's just how I truly believe, you know, the voters can be about certain films. They nominate these films an insane amount and then not give them any, and I don't want that to happen to Sinners. I think Sinners is the most worthy film this year, of last year, for this year's Oscars to win Best Picture. It's absolutely incredible. The just immersiveness of the story is incredible. The cinematography is amazing. The set design is incredibly beautiful. The acting is amazing. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, he honestly could win Best Actor. I think it still will go to Timothée Chalamet, but he is amazing in this movie. He's amazing in this film. And just Sinners is so good. I think that that's the last I could say about it. Sinners is just such an amazing film, and it deserves to win Best Picture. It deserves to win Best Picture. And, you know, you can disagree. We can disagree. That's okay. You know, a lot of people will say that One Battle After Another deserves to win Best Picture. And as much as I think that it probably will win Best Picture, I think Sinners is just a film that we will look back on in years to come and just be like, yep, that is one of the most deserving Best Picture wins that we've ever seen. So I would love to see Sinners win Best Picture. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think is the worst nomination in the Best Picture category this year? And what do you think should win Best Picture? What film from last year that got nominated for Best Picture this year that you think will win and should win? Let me know in the comments below. But anyways, that brings you to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. I appreciate every single one of you. But remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.